You think a property deed protects you? Think again, because where I live, the only law is whatever Cordelia Blackthorne shouts through her 500-watt loudspeaker, and she expects you to get down on your knees and beg for mercy. Yeah, that happened, her voice bouncing off every window on the block while 6 camping tents, pitched like some medieval siege, blocked my own damn driveway. Picture 2 fake security guards out front, walkie-talkies in hand, sunglasses on even though the sky is about to crack open with a storm. And there on the truck bed, a queen in a fuchsia pink suit, Cordelia herself, platinum hair and her so-called authority cut, holding that megaphone like she's about to knight someone for crimes against grass height. 72 hours, 3 days straight, that circus ran outside my house. Every 30 minutes, day and night, the same demand, that I kneel and apologize for the crime of existing on my own property. You want to talk about Kafka? No, this was worse. In my hand, I had a briefcase, felt heavier than bricks. Inside it, a document stamped with the eagle seal of the U.S. Department of the Interior. And in 47 minutes, everything Cordelia had built was about to collapse with half the neighborhood and 3 federal investigation teams watching. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You gotta understand how this started. Why a 42-year-old ex-federal land inspector was about to topple an HOA dictator. It all began with a house, my great-uncle Theodore Knox's Victorian place at 1473 Millbrook Avenue. I'd met the man twice. Once at my wedding, when he handed me and my late wife Sarah a silver dollar from 1857 with a cryptic note. Some things are worth more than their weight. And then at Sarah's funeral, where he squeezed my shoulder like a vice and whispered, "When you're ready to heal, the house will be waiting." Theodore died 6 weeks later, left me everything and a letter. The house remembers what others have forgotten. Listen to its walls. I thought he was just rambling. Until I moved in 3 weeks ago and found the hidden door in the basement. Those tents are still out there as I'm telling you this. By the way, where are you listening from? Ever deal with HOA drama, or is that just a little slice of American madness? For me, the trouble started 17 days after I moved in. There was a white envelope under my door at 6 sharp, gold HOA logo up top. Inside, a violation notice. My grass was allegedly 1 inch above city standards. The fine? $500 per day. I thought it was a joke. Then I met Cordelia. She pulled up that afternoon in a white Mercedes, stepping out like she owned the Oscars red carpet. Fuchsia suit, should have been a warning. Anybody who wears that color unironically, you know something's off. She didn't say hello, didn't say welcome, just, "You're the nephew, Theodore's little inheritance project." The way she said it, you'd think I was a disease. I'm standing there, arms full of Sarah's old books, thinking this lady escaped from a real estate reality show, flanked by 2 clipboard guys who looked down at their shoes like they were scared to breathe. I introduced myself, trying to keep it neutral. Years working for the Bureau of Land Management had taught me to stay calm around people who think rules are for other people. Cordelia? Not impressed. She listed my violations, grass, shutters, even my old Ford pickup. "Commercial vehicles aren't permitted to be visible," she said, snapping photos. I tried explaining it was my personal truck, but she was quoting bylaws like she was reading scripture. I made my first mistake. I laughed, couldn't help it. Cordelia's face went from pale to pink to red, matching her suit. She said, "Your uncle thought he was above the rules too. He learned otherwise." She left in a huff. My neighbor across the street, Eleanor Patterson, just shook her head, like she'd seen this play out before. That night, Cordelia's comment about Theodore being a problem rattled around in my head. 60 years he'd lived there. What kind of problem was a 91-year-old? I went down to the basement looking for clues. Old house, stone walls, musty air, classic. But the eastern wall looked different, darker stones carefully set. I pushed on it, and swear to God, a hidden door swung open. Inside, a passage led to a tiny room lined with shelves, and in the middle, a chest filled with oilcloth-wrapped documents. Maps, dates, routes northward. A letter from Jeremiah Knox, Theodore's grandfather. Turns out, the house was a stop on the Underground Railroad. 37 people hidden right there over 4 years. That's when the house stopped being just a house. It became a responsibility. I found a letter from the National Park Service from 1993, offering to register the house as a historical site. Theodore had declined, wanting privacy, but the offer was still good. Suddenly, Cordelia's $500 grass fine looked even more absurd. The next day, I started making calls, got bounced around, but finally connected to the Heritage Documentation Program's office. The woman on the line, Patricia Holloway, got excited real fast. If this is authentic, it's incredibly significant. She wanted to send someone out right away. Later that day, I heard a grinding noise. Out my window, tow truck, clipboard guy directing traffic, ready to snatch my Ford. I ran out, told them it was illegal. Clipboard man, Marcus, tried quoting bylaws. I quoted state law back at him. He caved, but not before muttering, "Mrs. Blackthorn doesn't like being challenged." Your uncle found that out. Something in his eyes, shame and fear. I knew then whatever Cordelia did to Theodore, Marcus had been involved. That night, I put up security cameras. Good move, because at 3 a.m., 2 figures were on my property, bolt cutters, spray paint. "Apologize or leave" scrawled across my fence. One of them limped, Tommy, one of Cordelia's lackeys. Sheriff's Deputy Wade Hutchinson showed up, looked at my footage and just sighed. Cordelia's got connections. Her brother-in-law's a judge. Her husband owns half the town. Be smart how you fight back. He told me Theodore had gone head-to-head, ended up with liens, lawsuits, drained savings, died alone. But he'd won in the end. Still, I was learning. Direct confrontation was a losing game. Next morning, Patricia Holloway arrived with her team, all business. Spent hours documenting the hidden room, excited as a kid at Christmas. "This isn't just historically significant, Mr. Knox, it's nationally important." She said the house qualified for National Historic Landmark status, federal protection, superseding local authority, including the HOA. Normally it would take months, but given the site's importance, she was fast-tracking it. Provisional protection in 72 hours. Cordelia noticed the government cars and called within 10 minutes, ice cold, threatening. "Federal employees have no authority here." I told her, "We'll see about that." That same day, my water got cut. Internet down. By night, only my electricity remained. I went to Eleanor's, she took me in, told me Cordelia had ruined the Washingtons, fined her $15,000 for planting roses, forced out a veteran for flying a flag. She's got this whole town in a web. Eleanor made me coffee, shared stories, and reminded me, my uncle had leverage on Cordelia once, but it had died with him. That night I slept in my truck. Electricity died at midnight. Around 2 a.m., a car pulled up, someone slipped an envelope under my door. Inside, damning bank statements. $450,000 in HOA money funneled through Blackthorn Community Services LLC, with a note, "She destroyed your uncle because he found out. You seem stronger. Maybe you can do what he couldn't." Augustus Whitmore. Augustus had been HOA treasurer before resigning for health. Now he was dying and ready to help. Day 3, Cordelia went all in. 6 tents set up across my driveway, Cordelia directing her troops, shouting through her megaphone that I owed $47,000 in fines. She claimed the right to establish a compliance monitoring station on my property. I called Patricia, who told me to document everything. If they damaged the historic site, it was a federal crime. Neighbors started taking sides, some quietly, some loudly. Jerome Blackwood, a vet across the street, set up his own cameras. "I've seen military occupations with less gear," he joked. That night, Augustus showed up with more evidence. Years of fraud, racketeering, recorded board meetings. He was dying, but determined to see justice. "She's calling a mandatory meeting tomorrow, planning a $50,000 emergency assessment against you. But if over half the homeowners show up, they can override her." He handed me a flash drive and said, "If something happens to me, get this to the FBI." The next morning, things blew up. Jerome's video of Cordelia's tent city went viral. News vans showed up, neighbors spoke out. Eleanor told a reporter about her $15,000 rose fine. Cordelia's control was slipping. Marcus made a mistake, grabbed my arm on camera. Wade the sheriff intervened, told Cordelia's crew to back off. She called a mandatory meeting, desperate to regain control. At the community center, the place was packed, 200 people, 3 news crews, everyone buzzing. Cordelia tried to push her agenda. $47,000 in fines, $50,000 assessments. But people started shouting questions. Where's all the money going? Why won't you show the books? Augustus entered, ghostly but determined. He called out Cordelia for stealing $450,000, presented proof. The crowd exploded. People yelling, Cordelia trying to adjourn, but I quoted her own bylaws. Only a majority vote could end the meeting. Nobody wanted it to end. I produced the Provisional Historic Landmark document. Federal protection, all HOA fines null and void, every harassment a federal crime. I played Augustus's recordings, Cordelia admitting to forcing out residents, talking about having a judge in her pocket. Then the FBI showed up, Agent Chun leading the charge, handcuffs at the ready. Cordelia tried to scream her way out, but they arrested her, Marcus, and 2 board members on the spot. It was pure catharsis. Eleanor cried, Jerome high-fived strangers, neighbors demanded their money back. Patricia from the Park Service arrived with even bigger news. The site was being fully recognized as a national landmark, with grants for restoration. Cordelia and her husband went down on RICO charges, their assets frozen. The HOA dissolved, the community free at last. Augustus died 6 weeks later, but not before seeing Cordelia convicted. At his funeral, his daughter said he finally died at peace, knowing he stood up for what was right. Even Cordelia's daughter came to the museum's opening, apologized for her mother, said she'd become a civil rights lawyer to fight HOA abuse. The Knox house opened as a museum. School kids came on field trips, veterans gathered, neighbors shared coffee on the porch. The house that once sheltered freedom seekers became a beacon of resistance, against bullies, against tyrants, against anyone who thought power was a license to harm. 6 months later, the story had sparked a movement. Federal prosecutors, HOA victims, law students, and even the FBI using our Millbrook model to fight HOA abuse nationwide. People started reaching out for help, Texas, Oregon, New Mexico. I started a blog, shared every document, every trick that worked. Sometimes I think about Theodore, about Sarah, about all those people who passed through the hidden room. What would they say about a house that helped freedom seekers 1 century and homeowners the next? About standing up, documenting everything, knowing which law beats which ego, and waiting for justice with a briefcase full of receipts. If you stuck with me this long, let me ask, what would you have done? Paid the fines? Fought back? Dropped everything and run? Let's hear it. Comment below, share your own story, tell us where you stand on justice, on HOA power, on the lines we draw to defend what's ours. And hey, if you think every petty tyrant deserves a lesson in federal law, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories, and remember, sometimes the good guys do win. You just have to be willing to wait 47 minutes and bring a pair of handcuffs.